This conference will now be recorded.
I did it too early. We're opening up this regular meeting for Thursday, May 16th, City of Port Orford at 5:32. All right, so we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. No, we'll start with the Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Councillor Rask,
Yes.
Councillor Velisis,
Here?
Councillor Webb,
Webb present.
Councillor Pogwitz,
I'm here.
Councillor Burns.
Burns here.
And then Councillor Tidy is running a little bit late. He said he will be here. We are joined by Melissa Radcliffe, City Administrator, Joseph Harrison, our City Recorder, and John Isidore, Head of Public Works. Sorry, I haven't included you guys for the last 3 years. I just thought. Oh, and our Police Chief Hank Hobart's here as well. I was waiting for next meeting for him, but thanks. Okay. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Is there anyone from Traffic Logics here today for the presentation? Okay, so we'll hold off for a couple minutes, but that might change. If they're not here, it's going to really kill the presentation. Okay, yeah, and what I can do is have ODOT go first, just to give them a minute to get here. And then one other thing, Jen Head has a neighbor-to-neighbor quick report, so we'll put that under liaison reports. Is there any other changes to the agenda?
I would say we take number 12 and put it up to the beginning, because we actually did the executive session in front of this meeting.
Oh, gotcha. So for the record, I mean, yeah. It'll be in the minutes and that, yeah, so yes, that will be changed.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
I'm just going to make a comment that the emergency preparedness committee's goals are part of the consent calendar. So if everybody
Right.
agree with that, then those are our goals. They're on page 18.
Gotcha.
Should we add, we got an email late today, the Jessica LaBerge email about the BOEM task force, or can we just bring that up under councilor considerations, or do you want to make that?
It's kind of a liaison thing, so maybe I'll just talk about it under liaison reports.
Okay.
Where'd the pen I stole from you go?
Mr. Mayor, do we need to revisit the our homeless camp enforcement? It's been brought to my attention that there are persons camping there again, and that perhaps they're not abiding by the ordinances as written.
So let's get our report from Jen, and then we can have a little conversation on it, and we have to put something on the agenda for the next meeting, which probably sounding like it isn't going to, like, we probably have to have a meeting before next month, just a little quick one for some housekeeping stuff. So we'll just continue that conversation after. Sure. Jen. Anything else?
I think maybe we could just direct staff to look into that.
Yeah, that's
and
true
then
too.
Bring us some information. It would probably be save us all a bunch of time here.
Okay, perfect. So was that a BOEM?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna under the liaison reports, we're gonna put a BOEM conversation. They want a representative from the city to come and talk about the wind call areas. So, well, like Ann said, we just got the email today. It's not a document that we really have to decide on, so it's good that she brought it up, and we'll talk more about that later. All right, so we're through additions. Is Chris Hunter on there? Oh, there he is right there. Go ahead and take it away, Chris. He is with ODOT, and he's here to kind of give us an update. They did, because of scheduling, they tried to tell us as fast as possible on the first phase. He's going to fill us in, and then we'll probably have some questions for you, Chris. But go ahead. You have the floor, Chris.
No, I appreciate that. This is Chris Hunter, Area Manager with ODOT. I also have Don here. Don, do you know if your mic is working?
Yeah, I think I figured it out. I had to unlock it.
Okay,
Can you hear
perfect.
me?
So, yes, I can hear you. So we also have Don Dewey here. I'm actually going to let him provide the update to the project. So since he's most in tune to what's been currently going on out there. So Don's our resident engineer overseeing the folks that are, the delivery of the construction project. So Don, why don't you provide a quick update?
Okay. As you guys have probably seen, we started paving last Thursday, and it's been slow going to start with, and they got quite a bit done today. They made it in the basically it's the bike lane and parking lane all the way through northbound, all the way through up to Madrona. So they got that lane done today. The plan is to come in tomorrow, and they want to do the actual travel lane in the northbound direction, and then start over next week on the other side. And so we probably got another couple of weeks of paving. Working around those bulb outs is really slow, and so that part takes quite a while. And then when they get to the middle of the road, it'll go a lot faster. And then we have a second lift going to go on at the end of all the other. We're just putting base lift in now, so there'll be a top 2-inch lift that'll go on, and that'll go a lot faster because it's less volume, and they'll be able to pave. They're hoping to pave each lane, 4 days to get the top lift done and pave that all out. But we're expecting to be the end of a couple weeks out, and they're also showing a little bit of rain next to Tuesday, Wednesday, so that could slow them down. But that's basically where they're at. Let me see. I wanted to note that there's a lot of complaints about the dust that we were having, and so they brought in a pickup broom today instead of the push broom that they had. And from what I was told, it did a lot better. We had a lot less dust. There's always going to be a little bit, but it was a lot better than it had been the day before. So contractor turned that around for us really quick and got a broom in there that was doing a little better job as far as keeping the dust down.
Yeah, within
And
a
that's
couple
about
hours.
it. When we get what's that?
Oh, yeah, they got their water truck out and turned it around within a couple hours. We really appreciated that.
Okay. Yeah,
It's not a
they did some other stuff yesterday to try to help out with the push broom, and then hopefully that pickup. Yeah, it basically sweeps it up and picks it up instead of just pushing it down the road. And then anyway, so it works a little better. Then it creates a little less dust with the pickup broom. And of
So,
course, within a couple weeks after we get done with the paving, they hope to come in and do the striping. But then that's weather dependent too, of course.
so if everything goes right, Don, what are we anticipating for like striping completion if we don't have weather delays or other things?
Yeah, so we're looking at. I don't have a calendar in front of me here, but we're 2 weeks, another couple weeks to get the paving done, and then depending on the striping contractor, they like to come in either 7 to 14 days after we get done with the paving. They like to let it cure a little bit, and so then and the striping, would be a week, less than a week probably to get all the striping done in town.
Yeah, and
So
So we're looking
they
at
have to wait,
another month
they
before
have
we're adding.
to wait, they have to
So-
wait in order to warranty the striping. They have a requirement to wait till that asphalt kind of cures itself, some of the volatiles kind of leaves before they can stripe it if it's going to provide a warranty.
Yeah, and
even
some
if
of
the
them wait
striping
7
didn't
days,
get
and some of
done,
them
would
want to
the
wait a
roads
full
be
14.
open by July 4th? I know, I mean, that timeline, it sounds like around the end of June, but July 4th would be worrisome when we got an extra couple thousand people in town.
For sure. Yeah, we would certainly like to be out of here and have all that done by then. We're on schedule too right now, unless we get a bunch of rain.
Knock on wood, would like that too. Yeah, nice. Oh, and then before I forget, in the bike lane and the parking lane right now, there's cones, but it doesn't say no parking. So can people park there if you're not working in there, or are they supposed to not?
Yeah, I don't know what they have set up down there for parking. If they got cones there, they probably don't want them parking in there. They're
Yeah, I
gonna,
know, it's
they'd
just,
be
we're so
parked right
set up.
against paving
So
that
I'll
we're
try
going
not to set a bad example
through.
from here on out.
What was
Anything
that?
else?
It's
Counselors or John Isidore, most importantly, do you have any questions? Nice.
Excuse me. So there was some questions with one of your inspectors, Josh, on some manhole raising of some manholes, which we weren't aware of, and we've overspent what we anticipated last year. So I don't know if something comes up, I guess we're gonna have to address it between maybe ODOT and the contractor to mod the contract or something, because, we spent a lot more money than we were supposed to. And, we all know we're at the end of the budget cycle. I just want to throw that out there because I've had a couple of conversations. Nothing of right now. I think Tidewater is going to address the one that they found. And hopefully we just go forward from there, because the original project was a grind to and redo, and so there shouldn't have been any adjustments. So I don't know if you guys know of anything. It'd be nice to know before getting blindsided, because we don't have anything in stock to address those issues.
Okay, yeah, the manholes in town, they're adjusting all of them in the paving section because we are putting a 2-inch overlay. So everything's got to come up 2 inches. But they went through town and they busted them all out and dropped them down so they could come in and grind without hitting them. And then they'll bring them up, but they should just, that are going to be using the material that was already, the hardware that was already there, the rings and lids for those manholes that they dropped. Yeah.
All right.
And I don't know of any valves. I know last year you're doing the sidewalks, there was a lot of valves that you guys had to, that were damaged, and you guys replaced those, I know. And I don't know of any of those at this point that we have to do.
All right. That sounds good.
Anybody else? Okay. Hey, is there any way that you guys could send us kind of a loose calendar? I know that nothing's perfect, but then we could hang it on the door at City Hall, or just put it on our website so people.
Sure.
There a finish date on
Right.
Yeah, we can.
I'll just send you an email.
Perfect.
Is there a finish date with Tidewater on the contract?
Don, do you know what the completion
What's the
date
contract
is?
completion date?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, the completion date right now is June 30th is the one we have with them.
Thank you.
We're hoping that, so we are hoping to be done before 4th of July.
Plenty of time. Fresh new paint.
Let's
for all
hope the paint
visitors.
dries before they,
Well, maybe you should wait so there's not a bunch of fireworks all over the new line.
I know.
Yeah, well, this will be thermoplastic, and when they walk away, it's dry, so we don't have to worry about that. Just get them dry enough to do it in the first place.
All righty. So anybody else got anything? These guys probably want to go eat dinner. All right.
I
I'm
would
not
just-
hearing anything, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll try not to bother you, but we will. It all goes
No,
uphill.
that's fine. Anytime you got questions, please reach out.
Gotcha. And would Don be the better guy to call?
Either one. He probably prefers I get
Well,
these
if you
phone
got
calls.
either way, but yeah, the guys on the grade down there, they can answer any your immediate questions too. They're all willing to help.
Good deal. All right. Have a
Basically,
good night. Thank you.
we're all here for you. So reach out any way you can and get a hold of one of us.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're up, Jen. Anybody from Traffic Logics? It doesn't look like it. Okay.
So that was likely my fault.
I love those emails. We're not going to make it to the meeting that you wanted us to 10 minutes ago.
Well, I connected with them last month. I think I've been to New Orleans and England since the last time I saw you, so it's been a little hectic for me. But I didn't follow up with them in between, and I didn't hear back, and I just kind of assumed that, that they were going to show up, and they didn't. So they assured me that they would put it on their calendar for next month. I just gave them the date for the date and the time for the meeting. But just a little bit of an update. I did connect with Officer Brennan, who said that his old department might have a data collection device that we can borrow so that we don't have to shell out $3,000 or $500 for a new one, which I feel like could be an asset to the city to have one. But so Mark's supposed to follow up about that and let me know. I don't really want to lose momentum, so if we can't make it happen in the next month or so, I would like to pursue maybe purchasing the data collection device from Traffic Logics, because I think that we are our chances of getting a grant are slim to none if we don't have any data. The speeding has improved dramatically on Jackson anyway. I don't know about Loop or other places, since the issue has become like so high visibility. But I think that, you know, over time, it'll probably revert back to the way it was, or we have a lot of turnover in town and we're gonna have a lot of tourists coming. And so I don't wanna lose momentum on the issue. So apologies that they are not here today. But we did, Chief's on the email thread, and I think you might be on the email thread now, Melissa, as well. Okay, so we'll keep everybody posted on that. And I'll get the presentation that I gave last time to Joseph so he can distribute it to you. It was very wordy, it was way more wordy than my presentations normally are, but I wanted you to have all the information in the slides so that I can pass it over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Do you want me to update on the homework?
Technically, I gotta stick to the script, so give us 5 minutes and then we'll have you right back up. Well, after citizen concerns too, so that usually. Okay, so on our consent calendar, we have April 18 minutes, couple OLCC approvals, and the Emergency Preparedness Committee goals.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second that.
Okay, any questions on that?
Just say good job on clarifying the goals.
Mhm.
I had a thing on the minutes. The last vote that was taken, I believe I had to leave. Something was on
Page was
fire.
that, Brett?
I'm trying to, let's see.
I thought
Julie,
I
it
saw
says,
that.
yeah, it says that we left.
Right,
On-
yeah, something
yeah.
happened. I left, there was some
Eight.
fire or something. Yeah,
8D, and then you do show that you voted yes on some.
so page 7, my page 7.
Mhm.
Right, okay,
D, I had to bail, and then
okay.
it shows me voting at, is that
Oh.
right, Melissa? Do you see that? I see them.
Yeah, on page 7,
Page 8, no.
letter D,
Oh, there
the
it is.
CA Radcliffe and Counselor BW are excused and leave the meeting. But then I see further on that it does say that you voted yes.
Several
there.
times,
Yeah, so
right? So I don't
You
know.
did vote yes, correct?
What's that?
You did vote yes, correct?
No, he
Remember
was
we were
not.
laughing about it because you voted yes?
I voted to make you guys stay,
Right.
but then there's a few more.
Oh, you voted yes after you left.
Yeah, so it the
Cool.
minutes reflected
Yeah,
that I voted after that.
okay.
But see, I don't know if this is actually correct because I was in on the discussion of the Beacon broadband.
That's right.
But there were two separate things. There was the Beacon Broadband contract. That was the early part.
Okay.
And that was where we raised the question if we should change the term or ask about the percentages. And then the other thing was the letter of support for the grant, and that they were separated in the
Okay.
agenda. So that's why
Yes.
it's separate.
Yes, so I think that have to, before I could vote to approve these, I would have to see that change on, let's see, all of my votes after.
basically after page 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, paid, yeah.
So we're scratching your votes after 7, correct?
Yes, I believe that's, if the group decides that that's prudent.
Do you remember off the top of your head voting to appoint David Johnson?
I don't.
Okay,
The
so
problem
that must be correct then.
Yeah, because you almost got to laugh. The guy's not here to defend himself, you know? Maybe I was. No.
Yeah, because I had to leave at about 7:30, so that's that time stamp.
So does that mean we have to retract our motions and redo it, or?
No.
Okay. We can just,
That was my discussion piece, was that I find that to be inaccurate. I think that you could
Just make
take it
amendments?
Yeah, I think you could amend that motion to
Okay.
so with those changes. And I think that Joseph, you probably got those changes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, or
so do you want to make that, that change, Gary?
Yes,
Is there something else?
I can rescind my motion on the
Sure.
consent calendar. And I make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the following changes. Mr. Webb did not vote on
Anything after he left the meeting?
You're correct.
correct. Anything after he left the meeting. So anything after 7D on page 7 of the minutes. That should pretty much cover it.
Second.
Does anybody know why one vendor pays so much more for his alcohol permit than another vendor?
One of them is a permanent in place and the other one is like temporary and the other is, they're just all different things.
Like a huge difference.
One is like a major
Yeah,
bar.
full on premises versus temporary.
Thank you.
Couple days.
Some are just beer and wine and some are
Yeah,
alcohol,
co-ops is beer
hard
and wine,
alcohol.
Oh, so,
and not on premises.
oh,
They're
gotcha.
selling wine to buy and take out. Redfish has a bar.
Which is a lot easier to. Okay, the only thing I would say about the emergency goals, and nothing again, like just to give you the heads up, is I would ask eventually when that plan came, if I'm still here, who vetted it? As far as the county, emergency person or someone that's outside of the volunteer body, you know what I mean? Just because we have to accept it.
So,
My liability brain, so.
yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could, Mike Murphy, our former city manager, is or was the Coos County Emergency Manager, and I wonder if he might be a good person to look that over.
Absolutely.
He knows
Definitely-
us.
definitely a good guy to
He knows
call.
us, and he knows.
I wonder if he's the one that, was he here?
It's
He
been a long
worked here,
time.
He
yeah.
was our city administrator, then he took the Coos County Emergency Management. But Mr. Murphy has since moved to out of state, I
didn't
believe
know that.
Montana, Idaho.
Because there's a whole plan that was found, that was typed.
Oh, typed.
It probably was him. It might
It's
have
probably
been
him,
the thing
yeah.
that segue
And I
into-
mean, it's the whole, a whole plan. It doesn't really fit now.
We tried
it was
years and years
interesting.
ago.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to try going the route of having a commission.
I wonder if he might still want to look it over if he's sitting around in Montana doing nothing.
He might, yeah. Mike's been very useful over there, so.
We've still got some work to do on it for
He
sure.
might just be a resource that you.
Yeah,
can-
when we get done, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's just
Yeah.
just a box to check.
Oh, any input is awesome.
He knows us,
Mhm.
Yeah,
And the
kind of with me
community,
and
the
you, it's like
area,
everything.
all of that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Tim helps too. Okay, so you amended your second?
Mhm.
All right, any other discussion on any of that? We answered the OLC's questions, emergency preparedness. I'll call for the vote. Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Rask,
Yes.
Counselor Pogwitz,
Tim, yes.
Counselor Webb,
Webb, yes.
and Counselor Velisis.
Yes.
All right, so now we move on to citizen concerns. Do we have a list? It doesn't matter. Anyone can come up that would like.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to stop anyone from. Okay. Is there anyone online that has some citizen concerns about the agenda items? Okay, and Counselor Tidy arrived at 5:56 for you, Joseph. Thank you. Okay, no citizen concerns. So for our departmental reports, why don't we start with you, Jen?
Jen Head, 1437 Jackson Street. So, we, the ad hoc committee to discuss the homeless issue in town or the homeless task force, we're not actually neighbor to neighbor. We're, composed of, a few members of Neighbor to Neighbor, a city councilor, people who are sort of on both sides of the issue, myself, Jen Bailey. So we met on Wednesday, the 8th, on May 8th. And let's see, president was Pat Ross, Gary Burns, because Perry wasn't able to make it, Officer Brennan, Officer Perry, Tanya Miller, Jen Bailey, and myself. Is that everybody? Yeah, so we didn't really meet over the winter because it seemed like things had de-escalated and everybody got kind of busy, but things are picking up again. So we determined that the exclusionary ordinance wouldn't really be viable in Port Orford. I have a map here of all these city-owned properties in the city limits, and there really isn't any great better place, I would say, to put the homeless encampments in town. Other than we did identify, I know this is probably going to be extremely unpopular, but there is a city-owned property on Port Orford Loop at the northern ends of the city limits. It's a storage for, I think, city trucks, and some people call it a boneyard. It's also, close to residences. It's also close to RV parks. And so I'll distribute this map here. It's the one right at the top there. The red outlined properties are the city-owned properties in the city limits. You printed me this map, so you have a copy. There you go. So I had to cut off the legend, but the one at the top is 8PF. I'm sure you're familiar with it, John. There you go. So basically, if we were going to do an exclusionary ordinance, we would have some stipulations that it couldn't be within a certain distance of residences or businesses. And so that, that includes the city-owned properties, include easements. We sort of went through the whole entire town in our last several meetings, including last winter. And we determined that, that there isn't really any great place. There are some city properties that are designated city properties that are wetlands and not great for camping. So we decided that having one central location was probably the best fit for Port Orford. But aside from this one, property over on Port Orford Loop, we couldn't really come up with a better spot. There was also that easement behind car care that had been proposed back last year. That was a total flop. That came up again, but that was wildly unpopular, and it seems like there's really no better situation than what we have now. But we did also talk about the fact that the homeless folks don't really seem to want to be all in one place. It creates an unsafe situation for them, especially when the camping is ongoing and they're not, packing up, and their people are getting established there with territories and things. And so, so that was the determination. We're also waiting for the outcome of Johnson versus Grants Pass, because I think that, that could influence what the city decides to do. So that's basically the summary. Is there anything else that you can think of, Liz?
I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah. We were there for 2 hours. The police were really helpful. They had a lot of input. They did talk about, we talked about enforcement a little bit, but I feel like maybe it would be best if they updated you on that.
Okay.
They have to post a sign also to give people 72 hours, I think, and then they can pack up and come right back. So
I'm trying to,
challenging to track.
I thought like what we ended up with was that they had to leave every morning. Wasn't that the existing thing? But then what's the problem? I don't understand the part about the 72 hours then, because I thought that's how we ended it, was that they could come and camp there every night, but they just had to pack up every morning.
So maybe Chief would be a better person to talk about this, but what Andrew said was that, I guess according to state law, we have to post a sign and specifically direct it at individuals that they have 72 hours. So I'm not sure if that trumps the city ordinance or what what's
Yeah,
going
I
on
don't quite
there.
understand that.
Yeah, I don't either.
At the end of the 72 hours, if they don't leave, then their items all have to be collected and stored somewhere
For 30 days.
30 days.
Okay, so I guess it's that if our ordinance, if they follow our ordinance, they're leaving at 8 a.m. in the morning, but if they're not following it, then that's when they have to get notice that they're going to get
So
evicted.
it's really ineffective.
Right.
Is that 72 hours you have to leave town because you're not complying? And I'm not asking that in a
You
mean
have to
way.
move your camp and it could be from
Yeah.
here to there.
Right.
At camp for the day.
Right. And
But-
like Gary said that, the city has to find a place to store, if they leave their belongings, then they have to be removed. The city has to find a place to store
Right.
their belongings for 30 days.
And somebody's got to be there when they want to get them back.
The
And
city's been forced into landlord-tenant law.
And it's a lot of management for the.
Right.
we'll see
for
what the
POPD
yeah.
hearing
because the 72-hour.
decision.
They have the same rights as a
notice
renter.
has to be directed at individuals. You can't just post it for every, and be like.
Yeah. So you're talking hours for every instance
Yeah,
at
they have-
best.
they
Have
have
we-
to track who's been notified and.
Have we considered a rolling area that's legit? In other words, one parcel one day and then the next parcel the next day, because then they're getting up and moving. I just wonder if we even talked about that. Just came to mind.
I don't think that's come up before.
Have 3 or 4 different spots that taking stress off of.
Well, that was the idea with the exclusionary ordinance.
Right.
But we just couldn't identify enough places. And then it would be on POPD to direct people, I mean, we just don't have enough.
Manpower.
It's not like Brookings where we can make a brochure and say, you can go here, you can go there, because there really isn't any other great place for them to go. And I'm not sure that 8 PF lot up there is really a great spot either. And then Tanya expressed concerns that it would be too far from services for some of the folks who are disabled and have a hard time getting around. And
It is close to common good.
it's close to common good. Yeah.
The bar.
Mm-hmm.
But
Have you
there's
guys-
also back on trucks and loaders
No, I know.
running
Yeah,
in
no,
and out of there.
I get it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think it have to be a fenced off portion of the property, not a free for all, but yeah.
I get it.
Jen, do you have people from communities of faith involved in that group? It just seems like there's a fair number of churches that have parking lots and spaces. Is there any interest in any of those communities in working on this issue?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, the one church does a warming shelter, but I think that's the extent. Yeah.
Just one thing about the number 8 is the only viable piece within that area is where we dump the VetCon. So it's flooded with water all year long because that's the drainage. That whole lower end that's empty would fill up with water. So in the wintertime, it wouldn't work. And then in the summertime, every time we dump or clean our VetCon, all that water goes to that low spot.
I see.
So there's really no dry ground to put them on unless that wouldn't impact Public Works for equipment and materials that are stored there, being able to access it around them and whatnot.
And
But
then, I drove by today just to kind of check it out, and I noticed that the door was open to the shop.
Yep.
And so it would, that would have to be managed,
yeah,
closely.
it would add some complications for sure. I don't know. The way I agree with Ann, I mean, the way we ended was we were going to enforce the dawn to dusk rule like the state said, and it worked. They posted, they ran them out of there. They all disappeared. So I've seen them slowly trickling back in. I think there's 4 or 5 in
Yeah.
there now.
There are quite a
I
few
don't-
that are actually that camp sort of just find their own spots, and they don't seem to be causing problems. There are some long-standing local folks that do that, and that's completely fine. I don't think they have any desire to have to be at that spot by raise. But yeah, I mean, the purpose of this was to try to determine whether the exclusionary ordinance would work to kind of keep that spot by raise,
Gotcha.
from being the spot. But
Yeah.
there just isn't really a better solution.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's. Oh.
I mean, so Coquille is doing exclusionary ordinance. I think still can't figure out what Bandon's doing. Somebody told me the police are just telling them to hit the road.
That's what I'm told too.
That's all.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure how that works because
I'll tell you how it works. They get on a bus and they come down here.
it's not in compliance. Yeah, with the
Yeah, no, that's
ordinance.
great.
They're the state law rather. But Coquille has, I think, a lot more spots, than we do available. Yeah. What's
Is
that?
it illegal to buy bus tickets and offer them to people? Because when you start thinking about the time and effort that the city is going to put into this, it might save money in the long run, or at least be a stopgap until, and I'm not going from an angle of running people out of town. I'm saying we're offering you a way to get to a better place with more facilities.
Well, that's one of the things that Tanya and Neighbor to Neighbor were doing, but Tanya is no longer with Neighbor to Neighbor. But she was working with individuals and connecting them to their families and helping them get back or helping them get on housing lists.
Mhm.
Like Bobby is back now and Bobby's on a housing list, and so but some of these folks, where do you send them? Where's
Right.
better than, yeah. I mean, I don't know what they have going on in Coos Bay, but
Yeah, it's a mess. I know there is a community north of us that does, the Chamber of Commerce keeps a pocket change or petty cash fund with bus tickets and $100, and they offer them $100 in a bus ticket to move on as a first stop.
the place of their choice.
Yeah. Which they did it for years. I don't want to name the town, but it's within
Is that
within
cold-hearted?
2
Like,
hours.
I'm really not trying to come from a cold-hearted angle, but if
No.
you can help
No, I
somebody
think
get
we've
to a
done that
better
a little
place
bit.
and help us when we know our budget's tight and that we're short-staffed, then it's not really as
It's a
ugly
matter of
as
having
like,
fun.
I don't mean it
Yeah.
like running people out of town, offering them an
Yeah.
avenue to get to a better place.
I mean, unfortunately, Greyhound doesn't run out of Coos Bay anymore, so
Well,
you get him.
if you gave somebody $100 in a bus ticket, he's gonna sell the bus ticket, go buy a sack of dope and some beers and have lunch. Let's be real. I'm just telling you, there's no way you can make him leave. Period. He or she. It's too bad we can't find something that just serves them.
But we did get our report and we're gonna get hung up in our liaison.
Yeah,
report.
so let's, yeah, so
There'll be
let's.
more to
anyway.
talk about when the court makes
Yeah.
that ruling.
Right, and that was is there an ETA on when the Supreme Court's going to rule on the
June
grants?
30th, that's what they said.
June
Yeah,
30th.
but it depends whether if it gets kicked around or if they do make a determination.
Straight
So
out to
And
AAA.
then
Yeah.
some other pieces that
Supposedly
were
next month.
helpful were these ideas of trying to work with that adapt building, which was empty, or
Yeah.
with Coast Community, which I know is imploded. But I mean,
Right.
those were some other things we
Right.
were circling around. And
Yeah, I think Adapt is going to be pretty limited. I know that they require at least 2 people just to staff it, and they're struggling just to keep it open to offer their own services. But there are people, like I think Bobby's networked with Adapt now, so they can help to a certain extent. They offer mental health services, but they're not gonna buy them bus tickets or give them money or, I don't even think that they connect them to, SNAP or social services. I think it's specifically mental health. So everything's like siloed, you know what I mean? That's part of the problem. The silos aren't connected. But
We
mental
were
health,
originally, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Originally, the goal was to have Adapt allow them to shelter in their building because it's largely unused. But it's summertime now and we're not necessarily worried about shelter for them, correct?
correct. Doesn't
Okay.
seem to be it anymore.
So what is our concern right now about them? I mean, are they upsetting people at Ray's again or?
Well, I think we were just moving forward with pursuing that the idea of the exclusionary ordinance and maybe finding a better spot because the city is obligated to designate a spot. But there are folks camped at Ray's and they are accumulating things and their tents aren't moving. So I know that's a concern that was brought up at the meeting. And
We
Yeah,
aren't
what's going-
obligated to select a spot. We just can't tell them to move on unless we select a spot.
Correct.
Well, we did
What
select
about
that
Fort
spot.
Point? What about Fort Point? There's an 80-foot swath right there.
Yeah, that's good camping up there. I think we have to be also thoughtful about the fact that, it is getting warmer. There are people that are going to be moving more. It's not going to be the folks who we normally have here who are part of our community and who are part of who we are, but also the kind of more of transient folks moving through into,
Right.
Yeah,
I think
I want to
what
stay.
happened last year, I mean, just to review, we all know how that went, but we explored not having people pack up every day, and it got really bad. And from my perspective, I do karate twice a week with a group of kids over at the library, and there were drug deals in the parking lots. There were fights in the parking lots. I was calling the cops constantly. People were there screaming and cursing at the kids when they were walking by, and it wasn't great. So yeah, so the idea was maybe there's a better spot that isn't like right in the center of town. But then, then the city voted to have the folks pack up every day, and that did alleviate. It sort of de-escalated the whole situation, But
So that seemed to, I guess, so to get to that, so that is our current policy. That's what we've
That's the
done.
current-
And so the enforcement piece of having them move
Yeah.
daily worked.
Yeah, it did. It de-escalated everything, but
Very quickly.
yeah.
Well, it's my recollection is it did not work real well. Of course, we did get some pushback from neighbor to neighbor, because it's difficult for some of those people to pack up. But it was in the winter again, and so it's harder to pack up in the winter than it is in the summer. But we did talk about having some like a storage unit type thing for them to put their belongings in, because that's a lot of the problem is they don't have any place to put them when they have to pack them up.
But we're getting into
Okay,
this
yeah, yeah,
conversation
yeah.
that we're
Let's
not
move it on.
ready yet. And I'm not trying to squash
No.
what you're saying, but it was
Yeah,
an
But
update.
since
One
the
last thing
chief is here, could we just ask what the plan is for enforcement?
Sure.
Sure, go
One
ahead.
last thing that popped up was potentially the need for a toilet and a
Right.
dumpster again at that location if this is really going to be the spot by Ray. So that's one last thing that we discussed. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's good to
Jen?
keep ahead of this because it's
Yeah.
it's like next meeting it'll be a whole lot different discussion, I
We're
imagine.
going to continue meeting, and once the Supreme Court ruling happens, then we'll know more.
Thank you.
But as of now, we have our process that we decided on, and that's what's rolling. Correct?
But it doesn't seem to be the enforcement doesn't seem to be happening right now.
Right, but it's on the books, and it could be, and
Yeah.
and we're
Well, I
like,
think there's a problem. Chief, is there a problem in implementing our ordinance?
why did I ask?
During my sick leave and then the time that I've been on.
You're on.
And the time that I've been on light duty, I haven't seen any cases coming from there from any of my guys. So before the meeting, when Brett said something, I checked with Mark real quick to see what's going on there and what he's been doing. And Andrew too, is just educating those who are new at that place who come to the city who aren't our normals. So they've been handing out flyers, educating them and telling them what's going to happen citation wise if you don't comply. That's what I know. I've been seeing all kinds of other transient issues, but most of them are based around 17th Street and 101, 17th Street in Idaho. Not at the Rays. I haven't seen anything there.
Poppy's
in quite
been
a
in
while.
Rays for almost a month.
Yeah, I heard.
That happens everywhere.
And then
She
there's
went to
somebody
jail
else
just the other
that's-
day for violating a restraining order on Jackson Street. So that's a whole different case from the norm there. So I'll have to check into it. I'm not seeing anything coming across the board on a daily basis that I check on. I'll check more.
Thanks for that update.
Thank you, Hank.
Because that's key. It's hard to split hairs, but transient and homeless are different. And it's almost like you can be homeless and still have a PO box and still be part of the community. But if you don't have a PO box, then you're not transient. So
You know
maybe we
that-
could get our homeless locals
That-
PO boxes and then use that.
That qualifier.
Mhm.
It was involuntarily homeless. Is that what it was? Remember we
Right.
struck it because it was going to be a qualifier that was too difficult to determine.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. All right, I'm gonna be pushy on the rest of these
Yeah,
because
let's
this
go.
is always the glut of the meeting. Administration.
Okay, so I wanted to say thank you to the road gardeners of Port Orford for weeding City Hall out and about. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's so nice, and our rhododendron on the front of the house looks just magnifique. So go check that out. She's a beaut. One of the main things we've been working on is the budget, and so we do have budget meetings coming up. The first one will be tomorrow at 5:30, and so we are still lacking 4 new people. So anyone who wants to be a part of the budget committee to do that and come up and help us get through that, please show up tomorrow at 5:30, and then we will continue with the budget process, and we need 4 new people. So we're kind of fun to hang out with, I guess. So come on in. We also have, Mayor Pat created the Finance Committee, and that group of people have met for multiple meetings. I think we've had 7 meetings that have lasted. So we've put in at least 20 hours trying to take the original budget that we had, including the shortfalls that we have, and then try to find creative ways to stretch those dollars and to try and balance our budget. So that will be, again, tomorrow at 5:30. As I've been here for only a couple months, one of the things that, I was asked by council was to kind of get back to the ABCs of how we do things in this organization and to make sure that we're getting things squared up. And so I have come up with just some key priorities and goals that I floated by them in my weekly Friday report. But basically just getting back to the functioning organization of who gets asked when and where our swim lanes are and who's in them and how we do that. Communication, improved customer service and trying to make sure that we are serving the people of our community well and communicating with them externally, but also within ourselves internally. So we've implemented more staff meetings. Chief Hobart and Superintendent Isidore and I meet together and talk about things that are going on, and then also including just regular staff meetings. I'm doing a Friday report to the council so that they know what I'm up to and what's happening in the city, so they're more aware when they come to these meetings. And also we're trying to lift a city Facebook page that won't have comments and things like that to start a ruckus on Facebook, but another place where we can, almost like a bulletin board, where we can place different things that are happening so that people can come to a reliable source of what's happening at the city. Right now we're having a glitch with that. I'm able to post on it, but no one can find it. So even my own personal, I've tried to find the account. So Joseph, the tech wizard we have here, is on that. To be clear, most of the people in our city hall, we're not super big social media people, so we're not super savvy on all that. But we're trying to use that as an avenue. And then just making sure that project management, that if we say we're going to get something done within the city, that we budget for it, that we work hard to make sure that we are getting that completed and that we can share it with the community, that we're being transparent and using the hard-earned dollars in the right way. So anyway, so we've also talked about making sure these meetings stay short and businesslike, and to do that, but sometimes as a council, we need to meet to talk about certain issues. And so there were some examples of that. And so the main thing, though, is also part of the basics of functioning organization. We do have jobs available, and so those are on the city's website. We've also now the applications or fillable PDFs There are ways even for our evaluations that they're fillable PDFs, just trying to get things up to be more efficient and so that we can be more efficient for our constituents. So finally, again, a reminder to the people of Port Orford that City Hall is now open Monday through Thursday from 7:30 in the morning, open all the way through lunch, and then we close at 5:30 now. So we're open more hours so that we can be more responsive to our customer needs. So any questions about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
We have a couple of community members that are super good at Facebook, so I'll get in touch with them if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to finance.
So the dates of the first 6 budget meetings have been decided. Starting tomorrow, they're listed May 17th, 20, 23rd, 28th, 31, and June 3rd. We may need to add more meetings to that, and based upon notifications that need to go out within a certain timeline, if we get to the 3rd budget meeting and we see that we think we're going to need more, we will add another 6 that will go into further into June. Remember that the fiscal year ends June 30th. The new budget starts July 1, so we have to have all of that buttoned up and taken care of. And so the drafted proposed budget is currently being worked on. We'll have that ready to go for tomorrow.
I would ask that, Melissa, we spoke briefly about it, about the tax revenue shortfalls coming in, and we can ask that we get a report monthly from the county on what's coming in, but it's way down. We're usually seeing 9-10% taxes unpaid. I think we're near 30 this year,
Wow.
something like that. And that's going to have a.
You thinking Fort?
Well, I'm thinking here, everywhere. If the county doesn't get paid, nobody gets paid.
Are you guys seeing that at the port already, Brett?
Yeah, and it's something that kind of, I guess, has slipped everybody's mind. But when you're talking resources, that's major. And with the inflation rate and the county keeping that, we don't get anything out of it. I just discovered that my assumption was that it was our debt to us and that we would earn that interest and those penalties, but we don't get a nickel. And so we're eating this inflation rate. I don't know if there's something that we can do about that. It just doesn't seem fair to me. I mean, it's supposed to be our money.
Yeah.
And you always hear about the county, this is our budget. We only get this, this, and that. Well, there's more coming in than they say.
Don't you have to, isn't there like a thing where if you don't pay on time, you have to pay more eventually?
Yes,
So are you saying that won't get passed on to us?
that's correct. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goes to
So
the county.
did somebody say
Does
that?
it go to the county, Brett?
Yeah, the tax collector collects it, and I guess there's some slush fund somewhere. I mean, I don't know what else you call it. Where's it go? I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. It never until just recent, just within the last week. So does it happen in every county?
I don't know. That's
I don't
what we
know.
should check into.
I think that we should be, since that's where the majority of our money's coming from, I think that we should keep a keen eye on that and be real close with that tax collector. And not to say they're doing anything wrong, but given our budgetary shortfalls that we all are really going to get a good look at here, it'd be good to know what hasn't come yet, what's predictable,
Projected.
and is it forecast to continue? Because then they have foreclosure, and then do we get anything out of the foreclosure?
I doubt it.
So I think that there's some questions that need to be answered, because we could be looking at increasingly less or decreasing revenues from what we would consider a stable source.
Yeah, and I think David usually budgets for about 97% payout, but you're talking about the additional monies for non-payment.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and I think that's valid. I think we should check into that with the,
We,
we
so
should be best friends with the tax person in
we
the
should.
county.
We need to be really, well. if
So do
we're-
I just contact the tax assessor? Is that is that the
Yeah.
county tax assessor?
Well, we,
Time to make a relationship.
right. I had asked the previous manager to do that. And for some reason I was told that it's basically impossible. So I spoke with them myself, and it's quite possible. All you have to do is
We
ask.
get it
for
every month. You're gonna
Well,
pay
now we do.
month. Yeah.
We weren't.
I mean, the port does.
The port does, yeah, because so there's just some simple things I think that we can do that we can really get a little bit better picture of our resources come
Okay,
budget.
and I might not have that for tomorrow's budget meeting because I'll be preparing for tomorrow's budget meeting, but I will put that on my list to call the county tax assessor.
Fixing it is taking little bits from, so every little bit.
The first thing you do in a budget is resources. So in my opinion, you almost don't need to have, if you can't have a handle on your resources, then, and this is an anomaly, we haven't seen this before, or maybe it's not, maybe it's what it's going to look like, but I think we really, really, really need those numbers. Maybe something's happened since the last time we looked into it, but it wasn't looking good.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yep, thank you.
Yep,
Nick Facino is who you're looking for.
Nick Vecino with a V as in Victor.
The treasurer?
That's via Zoom.
New, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not the treasurer, so that's different than the tax
That might be
assessor.
who.
No,
that
this
might
is the
be
guy
who-
that sends me emails with the tax reports. So
Right.
I think
So
he's
he-
the
it's the
guy.
treasurer.
It's the treasurer.
Yeah, I
that-
see.
I'm not just ambiguously telling you. There's this.
So there's the assessor, the collector, and the treasurer.
Senior.
And so you can't beat any one of them up. You know, you gotta
Yeah.
take on the whole game.
Any other finance questions? All right, Public Works. Anybody have any questions for John? What was the loss?
Brett.
I like that. It's on fire.
I would have made it bigger, but it would have made it too big.
Yeah, no, I understand. I hate it.
Good job, John.
You printed it once and that one last letter was on the bottom, huh? I know, it happens to me all the time.
So was this with the major leaks that we've had too, John? Does this consider that?
Yeah, for that month,
Okay.
another month ahead. I didn't do the math right.
Oh, gotcha, like taking the, gotcha.
30%.
Yeah,
Forgot.
it hasn't been that low in a while. And you guys got the potholes filled in Vista, Vista Drive?
Yeah, we have a couple of times now.
Good.
Yeah, I bet.
John, how's it going for that water test?
Tracer City?
Tracer?
No, the one that is,
For Garrison Lake?
Yeah.
I just need to get Andrew narrowed down to a good date. We're hoping for a nice warm sunny day coming
Okay.
very soon.
Okay.
So like to get it done in the next month.
Okay.
At the latest. I still haven't heard anything back on the dredging permit. That one's still in DEQ.
I have a little bit more on that myself.
Oh, okay.
I'm tracking it.
And then the only thing we're waiting on now is the final on the Arizona lift station. Once we get the new updates, then I think DEQ is gonna approve it. So that's kind of where we're at on the big projects. I will mention real quick, we did get the contractor to come and.
Can you talk into the microphone so people online can hear?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry,
Nope.
sorry. So we did get the contractor to respond for the roofing at
Oh.
wastewater. And he was supposed to be here either this week or next week. And the price went up like $1,500, couple thousand bucks. I think it was 12 originally. I think it came out at like 14 and a quarter or something. And then we did get the garage door ordered, and with install it was like 2,800 and change. So there was two options. One was 6,000, one was 28. We went with the cheaper option just because it's going to do what we need it to do. So, and it's less money. So those are the two big things going on. And other than that, it's just normal operations. So tracer study's still ongoing. There's an update in there. We're just trying to build the methodology, and there's some numbers that we're actually waiting on OHA right now. We're trying to find documentation on the two 19,000 gallon water contact tanks that were in place prior to the new one, because we actually pulled the tops and looked in one, and it's got a super weird baffle design that the engineer can't make sense of. And so we went to Kent, and hopefully Kent has a record of when it was submitted to the state. And then we can use that to apply some numbers for the tracer study itself.
I can't remember.
I think I've seen it too.
Yeah, but I can't remember why they had those weird baffles in it, but I know yeah.
It's
Because when we talked about gutting that thing, they were like, oh, all those baffles are in there. It's not worth doing it.
kind of like a circle inside of a circle.
Yeah,
It's really weird.
yeah.
We were kind of
Water
dumbfounded.
gets mixed as it goes.
Yeah, it just slows it
That's the
down.
theory, yeah.
like,
Yeah.
for-
Is it like a Venturi or something?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
It's just contact tank. It was whatever it does, it keeps the water in there as long as it needs to be before it goes.
it's released to the public, yeah.
Did we take the closest customer off of the line there?
No, that's why we,
Restroom.
no, we
Still didn't do, did we not do that?
Now, that was a suggestion, though.
Why in the world would we not consider that seriously?
It would have
It
been.
was too late.
Oh.
Because the first thing became the sink in the plant instead of the A-frame.
Oh,
And that's
right.
That's what the problem
Need
was.
to
And
eliminate that sink, shut
it's
that.
because there was a new person at DEQ is a lot of the reason.
Yes.
So
Because
what's the
common
sink?
sense doesn't always seem to apply for some reason. I don't
Well,
know.
we couldn't take
Hmm.
the sink because it had an OSHA eye wash station.
Oh my
Right,
God.
no, it was,
Yeah.
it was like.
But the first user beyond that was that restroom right there. We talked about.
Park Coast actually is first user.
Oh, you're right. Gosh.
We're actually now the first user.
Okay.
Right, and that was
Yes.
the problem, and even,
Yes.
I think, and even that first user, like, we tried to let us do a pig to get the contact tank, and they wouldn't, so. But yeah, that,
We had all those ideas with the engineer. We were doing everything we could to figure out how to avoid that contact tank, that
But
last
the
month.
guy that wants to build it told us we can't do it that way.
Well,
no.
Is that what I'm
no.
hearing?
No, the regulatory body said we
The
can't do
regulatory
it
body
that
said.
day.
Yeah.
And then the guy that designed it was like, oh, we can do it as big as you want, no
Yeah.
problem.
If you'll remember, that started out as about a series of
I do.
12-inch
Yeah.
PVC lines.
Pipe in a circle.
Right,
Yeah.
in a circle, right? And then
Okay.
it went,
We good?
or it
Yeah,
might have
we're good.
started out at 8-inch and went to 12-inch.
Yes.
Then they said it can't be done. Then we had to buy a $600,000 tank.
Okay, police, Hank, what do you got for us, or is there any questions for Hank?
Everybody got the report, I assume?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you, Hank.
Thanks, Hank.
Thank you, Hank.
Good to see you back. Excellent.
Planning's on page 22. Do we have any questions on that?
Submission error.
You know, I did have a question on that. The planning is talking about the CUP timelines, and the council already discussed that a couple years ago. Or I mean, how did that conversation get started? I mean, I know that it's coming up on the agenda, so I guess.
What, the conditional use permit timelines for?
Well, the discussion of the 1 year renewal, or if it stops at 1 year, because I know we had this discussion twice now during the.
But we've never,
During the
you
hearing.
guys have never, we've never made anything. I think they're going to discuss it, or I don't know.
No, I'm saying the council discussed it 3 years ago when the conditional use permit came up and landed on, oh, it's just a perpetual thing that they have to come check bases. Not that we can't talk about it again. I was just wondering why it came up.
If,
Joseph can.
so, the planning commission wanted to review the limit on how many times they can renew. We came to the city council, basically asked very quickly in one of our meetings if we could, and by consensus, you guys said we could begin looking into it. And we found during our research that surrounding municipalities in the county, as well as the county, limit the amount of times you can renew a conditional use permit. It's usually 5 to 10 times.
Okay.
Wow.
I just don't remember us doing that, but I'm not saying
It-
didn't. No, I was just curious. I'm we're okay. We're okay. I just more curious about the
It was
process.
about 3 months ago, I think, when they came to council.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Thanks, Joseph.
Happy to help however I can.
Thank you. Good job.
Mayor's report.
Sorry.
Oh,
Port-
what's that?
I don't have.
Oh, sorry, I was going on this list.
Are you looking at liaisons?
No, we're still going down. We're still up here at here.
Oh,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Planning.
seemed like we
Yeah,
were.
mayor's,
Planning,
you're right,
mayor's
mayor's, there you go,
report,
mayor's.
liaison.
Okay.
You guys learned earlier what I've been up to, and I can't talk about it.
What did you say?
Oh, the mayor's report. I was saying that we learned in the executive session what I've been up to. So I guess you don't know what I've been up to, but
Well, I think that I do know a few things. Good. But it's long overdue.
okay.
All right.
So, did we talk on the seawater, the supplemental seawater system last month? I think we did.
We did. We talked about that money being freed up for other things.
And then the only other big one is the port put in a MARAD request again last week for a bunch of infrastructure and the actual seafood hub building.
Yes. Port has been quite busy. It would be good if the city could get in a position where we could afford to hire grant writers. The port didn't do it overnight. It took a decade to get where we're at. It started with a small grant from Wild Rivers Coast to get a slightly larger grant, and that grant got us another grant, and then now pretty soon you've got a team working on it. It's really difficult to, like what Ann's doing. I mean, that's just, she's working her butt off. I mean, you're working like crazy but bless your heart. I just think that it would be great if we could get. How many of these properties do we need?
We can't.
One.
Right? Should we have a committee put together to talk about liquidating some of the city properties? Just off the top of my head, I'm looking at this. This is ridiculous. All these lots that we own.
Some of
I
these
think
little lots.
If you guys
don't-
think it's a good idea, then you should put it on the agenda during during counselor
Might be.
considerations, and then we can put it on the agenda for a workshop or something. Otherwise, if we don't, just to keep on track, it might be a good idea, but
Okay.
That could be a workshop that we
Yeah.
put down. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I wish the port could start talking with the city about those 4 lots down on the road there.
That was not even that one didn't cross my mind. Not at all.
School, Counselor Rask.
No report, sorry.
No worries. Fire district. Watershed.
Right here.
Submission error.
yeah, I had a submission error this time, but Joseph is passing out the report, so you can just look at it quickly. The bottom line is we're still waiting to get this $100,000 grant to plan to remove that culvert, but we've already been working a little bit with Marlon and Aaron down at the Watershed Council to do some planning, pre-planning for that. I have been trying to shake down the coconuts from the trees on this dam dredging permit. Found out that it's been held up at the county for several months because of staff changes. So I'm working to, Tina and I have been working on that. So hopefully we'll be able to get that dislodged in the next day or two. Have been working on trying to track down some more grants. And the key thing that I'm finding is we're going to really have to have matching funds to do anything. And so that's going to be something that comes up in our budget and something we have to think strategically about. But I'm with you, Brett, and that vision that you put forward. And I agree. So anyway, and finally, the Port Orford Watershed Council had its meeting down at the bioswale and is interested in working on keeping that up and needs volunteers. So if anybody wants to work with the Port Orford Watershed Council on the bioswale, give Linda Tarr a call or me.
I think in the past, Ann, Public Works has helped lift those grates off so that can be cleaned out.
Yeah, that would be a great thing. Thank you, Tim. I'll mention that to Linda. It's not right in front of the visitor center. It's the
Yeah.
collects all the
Okay,
things.
gotcha.
Parks.
Parks, we just have the parks benches. I think we have 2 left for the memorial little plaques, and that's about it. And Brian Thompson will be the point man on that. So that's it.
Good. TLT, Tim.
TLT, we have some grant applications that the TLT committee approved to go over later. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Main Street.
Wondering if you knew something I didn't know. Because
Everything's in the report if anybody.
Any questions for Gary?
Lovely.
How much are the blinds for the visitor center?
Main Street has some money that they used, and
Okay.
Susan's looking for a grant to get reimbursed.
Gotcha.
So it won't cost the city anything. It's been a problem in the
Pretty high.
afternoons. It
No, no, I just didn't, I was like, it just, I didn't, I didn't, yeah.
Yeah, since there was no discussion because there was no city money.
Yeah, no, I just saw it there and I was like, oh, they're just blinds, like $500, what? What do we need here? And then we go to the Emergency Preparedness Commission.
And the only thing I would like to ask is if the council would be all right if we started working on putting radios in the trucks, if we could find money through donations or not city money. I mean, I was thinking of just doing it myself and having one radio put in one truck and see how it goes. Jeremy seemed to think he'd be able to do it. And then we'll see, whatever it costs. And if we can do it strategically, eventually have them all done, if to seem like a good thing rather than them sitting in the water plant.
Yeah, I mean, they're 99% of the time they're going to be sitting there off anyways, but in case of an emergency, it would be good. Because I was thinking it's like, because I've turned radios off in excavators or in the truck a million times, but you don't need to have it on every day. It's just for the emergency. Because at first, being the ditch digger, it's like, oh, nobody's going to want to listen to the radio and all that. But then it's like, well, if the world's come to an end and it's the only way to talk, you'd probably be pretty happy. Other than hitting your knee on it all the time.
But does that seem like a good plan?
Oh, yeah.
I think installed in the rigs would be a great idea.
Can we put one in the plant and at City Hall too, or do they not?
You got to get a 12 volt, 12 to 110 converter for them.
They're very inexpensive.
Yeah, they're not that
Are you
expensive.
talking about like a VHF or?
Yeah, VHF.
So sideband would. Never mind. That's fine. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, because we have the radios already.
Yeah, that we, yeah.
yeah, we've got everything besides just a few pieces. I think antennas are about the only thing we're missing, and they're not expensive. They just
Yeah,
have to be tuned.
We need to figure an antenna for the building, and there could be one up there.
There could be. True.
Thank you, Gary.
Excellent.
I don't think anybody it's kind of between you guys and John, really. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to the business part of the meeting. What are we looking at? 6:30?
6:45.
Oh, better than usual. Good job, guys. Old business, final reading of ordinance 2024-01, Beacon Broadband Franchise Agreement, 24 to 30.
I'd make
So
a
what I will-
motion to approve the Beacon Broadband franchise agreement for a length of 10 years.
Second that.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. So we've already read this by title twice. We can just pull the trigger on the vote, I think.
Can somebody help me? And I had to leave. I can't remember. We talked about, so we were assured that 5% was the highest we could go.
Yeah, so I put it in there for you.
And then we had some discussion about 5 years or 10 years, and it sounds like we're solidly landing on 10. Tim, can you tell me why you feel that?
The reason I chose 10 is we're being offered 5% for 10 years and 5%. Melissa did do the research. 5% is the max that they can pay.
Oh, okay.
And I
So they
figure.
could come back and want less, want to
Pardon me?
pay us less.
Yes.
Well, yeah, in 5 years, if we go for 5 years, they could come back and say, we're going to give you 2% or something. That's my only thinking on this.
Just like that.
Well, there's one other thing. Those 5-year contracts that keep coming back to us, seems like they come back next year. That's how fast 5 years go. I just figure
No, I like to, it sounds
that's
thinking the 10-year.
only my thinking on it.
Okay.
That's what Bandon
Gold Beach.
Gold Beach and Brookings did.
Yeah, well, the 5% max kind of answers it. That's a really.
Yeah, that was
no
my
doubt.
biggest,
Yeah.
that was my biggest question. I think that was one of your biggest questions.
Yep. And Brent Biscoff from from CCE, he sent me an email and I forwarded it to you on the Friday
Right.
report, so you could see all that to know that, yeah, that's the max.
And I did read that. I just wanted to get into his head on.
Thank you, Brad.
We did have discussion on the free reign of the right of ways. So.
I believe that was taken out. Was that?
Yeah, but that's,
Okay.
okay, but they're still cutting. If you look, there's a lot of people that are upset with what's going on in the right of way of their property.
See that fella right there, Bill?
Yeah,
Well, I thought that part of the deal is that you guys have to like follow our rules, and part of the rules is that they have to talk to John, and then John is going to be the guy who makes the call of are things.
It was kind of mixed. There was dual
Sure. Please, thank
there
you.
was dual language in it. One area it said they would follow our rules and laws and ordinances. And then there was another set of language that said that we took that out.
Well, no,
And we're good.
that was in
That
a
was on the
letter.
letters.
That was in a different letter though. So in
Oh.
this contract, I think it says that they're supposed to follow our rules, one of which is the ordinance.
Right. So on page 26, it says grantee must comply with applicable city ordinances, resolutions, rules, and orders that generally apply to the reasonable management of the safety and use of the public right of way, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, they'd still have to ask John to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not, this is in no way to hold you guys back or anything. I just want, good communication. I met with two of the local boring contractors today, which I've worked with both. So we went through the map and I think it's going to be a pretty smooth transition. There's some spots that are going to be maybe moved because of the infrastructure that's in place there. I don't see any holdups on that at all. We're just going to work with both of them and work our way through the process. But it just, that one language had me concerned, saying that they could come in and I think it said emergency work and repairs could be done without notice to Public Works. But we just don't want to suffer the water loss or the broken pipes. That's all.
And most of the work is done, it's going to be aerial and we are Coos Curry Electric, so we're on their poles. So there shouldn't be much problem at all.
And Beacon Broadband has the same standards as Coos Curry Electric. So we definitely have a great relationship with all the communities we serve. Our intent and our goal is to provide you the best service that we can offer. And we don't want to harm any kind of relationship with the cities that currently support us.
The difference is that it's for profit.
So what?
The difference being that it is for profit.
That's correct.
So it's not the same. That would be inaccurate. What we're concerned with is for profit, not a business for profit cutting down some old lady's tree in her backyard or something because they don't want to run the thing 20 extra feet or something like that. I think that you could imagine all kinds of crazy things going on, right? But I can just imagine when you can't carte blanche for a profit business, that's a little bit scary in comparison to a nonprofit like the co-op. And I think that Beacon has Beacon's in a good situation because they're working so closely with the co-op. And that should help Beacon not be forced to do things that would be unsavory.
And we
right?
do have the same CEO.
Right.
So the CEO of the electric is the CEO,
Right.
Brent Bischoff. So we are under the same marching orders as that. And I agree with you 100%. We're here for the long haul. I mean, we're the only local company that's in Southern Oregon. There's no other local offices. They just don't exist. So we're going to have a local office right here in Port Orford. We have one in Gold Beach. We have one in Brookings.
Yeah, when we talk about standards, we hold both companies at the same standard. So
I'm sorry?
we're holding both companies at the same
Same
standard.
standard.
we currently work.
So again, and I'm glad that you are, but one is for profit, one is for not. So I can't sit here and hold you to the same standards because one is for profit. It's different. I just be ethical and there probably won't be any problems, but
We hear you.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
yeah, we want to, it's good for us, we think.
Yeah.
And
And we haven't had good luck with contractors for the last couple of years as far as communication and hitting lines. So
I can assure
that
you.
savings has been passed on to you.
Right. You did Brookings, Pistol River, or Go Beach, and we've fixed everything we've had. We've got a great reputation. The
excellent.
nice thing is, we have a full-time liaison, and then it goes up to me, then it goes to Brent Bischoff. So I've given you almost all of you my cards. You can call me if there's a problem. We fix it pretty darn fast. We don't want anybody being angry.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Well, in the nature of boring, they find the utilities before they bore through it more than people that are just trenching and doing the stuff that they did before. So it is a different animal.
So John, that language you were just worried about, is that on top of page 26, the thing about the emergency thing? It says that they have to give you notice as soon as reasonably practical. Is that adequate for what you want, or do you feel like?
Well, it's kind of gray. They could tell me afterwards, I guess. But I think if we build a good communication with them, then they can reach out to me at any time and just let me know they have a hot spot and we can jump out there and at least mark our stuff. Because generally our stuff is in their work area.
Well, and maybe if you could get the message to them like, hey, Port Orford is really particular on their trees. If you got to go an extra 10 feet, it's probably not even worth calling head of public works. Just go the extra 10 feet.
Again, feel free to call me if there's a problem.
Yep. And I will say that I have had that where we had some concerns with a citizen just this last week, and I immediately called Brent, and then I had other people calling me immediately back. So they were, at least in that one instance, I can say that they were very responsive and very respectful.
I've already been up here 7 times taking care of complaints.
Good man.
Great. Okay.
So I've been,
It sounds like, yeah, infrastructure and trees. So if you guys can keep that in mind.
we love trees.
Good. I like to hear that.
They don't buy internet. They don't buy internet, but we love trees.
We like them a lot better since Jensen started.
Yeah. We don't want them in the right of way, but yes, we love trees.
Yeah. If it's over a water line.
Well, just to go on that, a lot of people here like them in the right of way because they actually serve purposes in our community to block people from their neighbors or to provide aesthetic beauty, or if somebody has a disagreement with their neighbor and they have trees. So they serve a lot of purposes, and that's why people care about them. So just to put that out there.
Okay, any other questions for these gentlemen? We've got a motion and a second on the table. I will call for the vote.
Bird
Counselor
habitat.
Belisis?
Yes.
Counselor Tidy?
Yes.
Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Webb, yes.
Counselor Rask?
Yes.
Counselor Pogwitz?
Jim, yes.
Thank you for being with us. We appreciate
Trucks
it.
are right outside here. We're getting started tonight.
Yeah, well, that one tree's gotta go, right?
That was a joke.
Thank you.
But we would like to get started fast.
Thank you so much. We hear the chainsaw fire up. Yeah, it's almost 7 o'clock, so if you're gonna fire up chainsaws, you better hurry.
I've attended several board meetings, council meetings, and you guys have a very cohesive group. Probably this was one of the funnest one that I attended.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Didn't expect to hear that today.
We're a hoot and a half. Okay.
Not the first time we've heard that either. We should be proud of ourselves for that. Have you ever watched some other? I mean, wow.
Okay, so we are on the,
Janitorial contract. They are asking.
It's dead, it looks like.
oh, okay, I can do it afterwards. I can do it at the meeting if you want, but, okay, so janitorial contract,
Firm about it.
pages 31 to 36.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract for janitorial services with Scotty McLean as proposed.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Did we drop any of the facilities that she was servicing?
Yes, so we took the Buffington Park bathrooms off, and that now is back to the volunteer park host where it originally had been. So that was a way we could lower the costs and lower that liability.
And did that serve as a savings or just not an increase?
It served as a savings, actually.
Can you tell us the savings, where we were and where we are?
Oh,
I know you worked on that, Melissa.
I
You
did.
remember, was it 34,000 and now?
Well, right. Well, it had been, I believe the original contract, help me if I get it totally wrong. It was like it was at almost $2,450 was where it was before. Now it is back to $2,205 per month. And the original ask was up around $3,500. So by adjusting that time and doing that. Because I will say Scotty goes and does, and according to Public Works and everything else, she unlocks doors, locks doors, keeps things clean, does all the, I mean, she's done a really nice job. And so, she's licensed and bonded and does her own workman's comp and does her insurance. And we ask a lot of her to do that. And so, we came to this agreement, and it's actually technically lower than what we had even before. So.
Right, because it had increased substantially the year prior due to insurance requirements.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
why
right.
the last
Yeah.
one left in
Yeah.
the first place.
Yeah.
And-
Very good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did a good job there, Melissa. Thank you.
Oh, thank
All
you.
right, so I will call for the vote. Counselor Tidy?
Yes.
Counselor Velisis?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Webb, yes.
Counselor, I already said Tidy. Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Rask?
Yes.
And Pog?
Tim, yeah.
Too soon.
I can't not say it now. Where'd my agenda go?
A-frame.
We are on, let's see. Business now.
I love the
Oh,
paper.
we got
sorry.
C.
7C,
Good.
A-frame contract.
I love it.
I'll make a motion to approve the rental agreement with Siskiyou School as written.
Nope.
Is that a second?
Nope. I wanted to, with amendments, so that's why.
Gotcha. So I would need a second for discussion.
Second.
Okay, for any discussion on this?
Can, so amendments, looks like it's 120 currently, so that's what he did. So we had talked, the reason why we didn't do it last time was we wanted to do the cost effectiveness. It's 135, so I would just like to amend it to do 140. I've talked to Sierra and about, this and everything else, and she was totally on board and understood the reason why we didn't approve it. And she said that was totally fine with whatever we decided, so. That's why I would just like to do an amendment to it to increase it to 140 a month vice 120, and that would cover our costs, at the school and everything else.
Very good.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other
Yep.
questions on the contract?
So that, did you,
Can I amend the motion? I'll amend the motion to be 140 a month.
Second.
Any other discussion? We kind of cut you out there, Brett.
that's, what I asked for last month, and it sounds like it's perfect. Thank you very much, all of you.
I was
Yeah,
just,
and Melissa did her due diligence on it.
And I went the next morning and talked to Sierra about why we didn't approve it, just to let her know in case it came back, and she was totally understanding the reason why we didn't, and looked forward to seeing actually what it did cost.
It's good to know, yeah.
Yeah, so she was totally on
It's
board.
less than I would have guessed, even.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, so I will call for the vote. Counselor Rask?
Yes.
Counselor Tidy?
Yes.
Counselor Velisis?
yes.
Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Pogwitz?
Tim, yes.
And Counselor Webb.
Webb, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, new business 8A, Resolution 2024-04, adopt a Port Orford Section 3 plan.
I'd make,
Want to elaborate on that a little bit, or unless you're making a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-04, adopt Port Orford Section 3 plan.
Second.
Any discussion?
Oh,
This is just standard language for the pursuit of grants.
yep, boilerplate stuff that has to be done. Box checking.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like any questions. I'll call for the vote. Counselor Webb?
Webb, yes.
Counselor Velisis?
Yes.
Counselor Pogwitz?
Tim, yes.
Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Tidy?
Yes.
And Counselor Rask?
Yes.
New business 8B, recognizing National Public Work Employee Week.
I'd make a motion to recognize National Public Works Employee Week.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion, or is 41% good enough?
We're recognizing.
Running on about 30%. So
All right, so we're at 70%. That's pretty good. Things are looking up.
I would just say we should recognize our employees, not just the week, and just really appreciate that all the very hard work that our public employees have been putting in.
100% agree. Thank you, Ann.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would not have made it through the past year, 2 years, maybe more, without these guys. It's great.
It's something that I think most people take for granted that our water runs, and their
Yeah.
toilets flushed, but our staff has a real, I think, feeling of an ethic of doing a quality job. So it's really wonderful to know that. So thank you, John, and thanks to your staff.
Thank you. We'll pass it on.
Thank you.
Good, thanks, John.
Please do. And please pass it on to all the staff. Be very apologetic.
Hank, that's you too. Pass it on to your guys, okay?
Okay, call for the vote. Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Tidy? Counselor Pogwitz?
Tim, yes.
Counselor Rask?
Yes.
Counselor Webb?
Webb, yes.
Counselor Velisis?
Yes.
All right, new business 8C, TLT grant recommendations.
So good.
All right. Got it done, huh?
Yeah, actually.
Excellent.
And it looks like they did a pretty good job. I don't know what you guys think, but
Can I ask why there was just a couple, the aquatic safety and then Mr. Ed's, both of them just weren't, aquatic safety was 0 and then Mr. Ed's was 2,000 of the 35, so.
so, I don't have Mr. Ed, or did I just get him?
You
Might
did,
have
you
just-
got him.
Okay. So I could specifically go over Mr. Ed's real quick, but I don't have my line items out of those. But there were some items that the group didn't feel were beautification. They were more maintenance items,
Roger that.
like the gravel on the ground and the rebar and stuff like those. You know, they didn't think that anybody would see those kinds of improvements. Unlike, you know, a fence, he wanted to do a fence, which they added in, and plantings and stuff you can see visually. So they took some of the monies out for Mr. Ed's. And the other, I think they were all funded.
Except for the aquatic, that was it.
Except for the aquatic one. And I'll tell you what, the group wrestled with the aquatic one. They had a lot of pending grants from other cities, but they were pending. They had other grants from government agencies pending, but they didn't feel like it was a local person asking for local monies to beautify something. It was more of, they didn't even feel that it fell into a tourism promotion. And had the gentleman been here, he was at a prior meeting and couldn't be here. He may have been able to convince him at the time, but there was no way to ask questions, what kind of bang they were going to get for their buck. Right. So they had about $11,000 and they spent $5,000 and change of the money.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Looks like 66.
Yeah.
6627 is what it looks
Correct.
like.
Correct.
Tim,
And-
can I, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No.
Can I just say that the name of the publication is Connections, not Corrections?
Oh, that, yeah, that
That's
probably makes.
anticipating a lot of mistakes, right?
You guys aren't going to fix everything?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, they felt that the 1,000 to the Connections newspaper would be warranted. They're going to do a little news front from the city administrator each month and or each quarter, I think, and some other things for our community. The community bulletin board, obviously, that's going to be an asset. The Port Orford guides, the Main Street pulled those guides out, so that's why they weren't funded. They used their advertising, the 1% advertising monies to pay for those guides.
Nice.
So they didn't do without the guides. They just used the other 1% money. That way they pulled out of this. The Port Orford Second Saturday, Beverly Basic was there to explain that, and that seems like it's going to be a really good deal for our community. And Seawolf's Books was doing some landscaping in the front of his buildings, which the group felt was adequate and would beautify that area. If I missed anything, forgive me.
I was wondering about the aquatic safety program.
Uh-huh.
I don't recall ever awarding money to another government.
Well, that was one of the questions that come up, that it was a government agency asking
For
us
funds.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the things that came up. And he might have been able to clear it up, because I know he gave us a presentation about 6 months ago, if I remember correctly, and the gentleman was great.
Yeah, no, Luke, yeah,
Yeah,
I
Luke
think he was
Martinez.
gonna do, I think his program was gonna be a good program, but they couldn't ask the questions they wanted to ask. And one of the questions that come up from the group was, well, what if this gentleman that's so great leaves that organization? Is the next person gonna actually focus on Port Orford? Or are they just gonna do Gold Beach Brookings? So, I mean, they had some valid concerns.
it's hard to fund a countywide program when it's intended to. But see, Luke came to the port, he came here, and
Correct.
the big,
Yeah.
and the big vision was that there would be life jacket kiosks and
I
things
believe
like that.
that, and some education to some of our beach goers, which
Right.
I did explain.
Have we seen any of that?
I did
Yes, he's
that.
come up here. I've seen him a couple times.
Right, but have we seen any
Like
brick and
jackets?
mortar? I mean, have we seen any action?
I don't
or-
think that's happened here.
No, it's no.
No,
Have there been any life jackets?
no, it's a port.
The only thing they did the young lifeguard training. It was like a 3-day training.
That was great.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was the only thing I know for a fact they did here locally. But they had talked about like a 12th Street boat ramp for life jackets and everything
Right.
else too. So,
There was discussion on the liability of that, which was,
so like I said, just financial impact. It says on the thing 5,000.
well, it doesn't
Actually,
matter. He didn't
6,000.
get approved anyway. I just was curious as to the governmental piece of it.
So that left you guys about $5,000 left then.
Correct.
In the
That-
TLT to roll over
that
for the
rolls
next
over.
year. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So,
And then Tim,
well, they had 11,000.
Next year.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
will the TLT board continue its work and now focus on compliance, past compliance issues? Would that be something that you guys can handle?
I think that would be good. I think the committee should meet to go over the final reports we're supposed to get back.
Right.
Now, that's traditionally fallen on the city manager to make sure we get those reports and go over them. But if she gets those reports and wants to call a TLT meeting, I think the TLT group would be glad to go over that. I know I would be there to.
It would
offer
be
support.
good for the group that did made the recommendation
Correct.
to, keep that in mind, because next year there's a chance that the same ones will be, on there or whatever. They'll learn things and
Yeah.
I know that there are some folks who haven't,
Done what they were
and
going to.
it's tax money, man. We gotta be
Yeah.
vigilant and we have to, it's our responsibility
Yeah.
to be sure that that money is spent and the way that it's intended.
And
Might not be
explained-
fun, but we have to do it.
And I explained that to the group, that it was, of the utmost importance, because this is taxpayers' money and the state of Oregon will frown on you if you're not doing this properly. So, I will see if we can set up, we'll go back through the ordinance and look for the date. I think they're supposed to report by the end of the year. And if they do, we can meet very early in the spring before we get started next year and go over those reports and make sure the money's were spent correctly.
Because that money would go back into the fund,
Correct.
and which would be helpful for the next cycle. Okay, very good.
Could you look at the ones from last year, I guess, or,
We need to look at the last 10 years.
because we've just been through that period of COVID, when
Right.
who knows what happened.
We need to look at the last 10 years
Project for somebody.
for somebody. You can't do that? Can you fit that in now?
It is a good program for our community. It helps
Yes.
folks do some things that, slowly but surely, that gentleman that just left from Coos Curry says he sees improvements in our town, and he likes it. So
He especially loves Cafe Gemma. He tells me that every single
Yeah.
time I talk to him.
every other Friday.
That is horrible. That is a horrible thing to say.
I'm not looking up, I'm not in this conversation, I'm looking up ORSs right now.
So anyway, those
Anyway.
are for you guys to look at. And if you decide they're valid, that would be,
The Jubilee,
and if you have any other questions on any of those.
Yeah, what did happen to that? Was Jubilee getting $5,000 or what happened with that? Is that part of the TLT money or what?
Um,
Is that to be
That's
discussed in the
gonna be
budget?
for the group to consider at the budget session, but it looks like the line item's going away, so. That they'll be guaranteed back to where they used to,
To
what
the
they used to get,
5,000.
if the committee decides that.
Yeah,
so that,
That's a
let's not
possibility.
talk
Yeah, we're
about
not going to talk
too
about
much
that.
yet.
Mm-mm.
that piece is on hold, or that portion of that piece is on hold, or, so they're not getting a piece of this TLT? I didn't see.
They will next year if the committee agrees.
So they're not getting any money this year?
No, I think they get whatever.
Oh, the line item on the budget,
That's already, yeah, for last year.
which was a morphed out weird thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway,
Yep.
So are we just supposed to move to approve these? Is that the?
if you're happy with them, if you have questions with them, I'd be glad to answer any more questions.
I move that we approve these
I
recommendations.
second that. Very good. Thanks, Tim.
We got a motion?
Both, yeah.
Okay.
In a second.
I'll call for the vote then. I'm not texting, I'm literally.
I know, you're looking down. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
All right, Counselor Velisis,
Yes.
Counselor Tidy, Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Webb,
Webb, yes.
Counselor Rask,
Yes.
and Counselor Pogwitz.
Tim, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And thank you for being there when we were going over this to answer questions. We appreciate it.
You need. Here.
Yeah, I think that. Thank you. I think the group's good.
Very seriously. It was a great discussion. I was glad to be a participant.
Thank you very much. We
Do
appreciate
we
it.
have a list of those committee members?
Steve Cordier, Lori Prouty, and Annie Stevens were the quorum that showed up. So,
Only from
and one or two people weren't able to make it. So.
May, and it needs to be within the calendar year, like things that just aren't written down. But that I did write down. For
Good
you,
work.
but it's not
Thanks
your
for putting that together, Bev.
We won't even open it up.
Well, I'm kind of just gonna, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna kind of get consensus that they want you to pursue it, come back with the plans. Like, that makes sense between you and John. Okay. I need
Irrigation
to-
meters.
So we are on 8D.
Correct.
Excuse me.
I
Trying to have a side discussion here.
Sorry, trying to have a.
So 8D, this is a discussion on irrigation meters. Long story short, we could talk about this for an hour. I think this is a discussion between the city administrator and head of public works to come back to us with an actual document for us to discuss.
Thank you.
The only question I would have is, by consensus, do you want staff to explore the irrigation meter process, because we don't have anything on the books clearly?
So just to make a process.
Yeah, but do you want to have a
Yes.
irrigation meter process? Okay, so
So why don't we do a workshop so we could all hash out some ideas?
we could do that, but bring us a document to start the conversation.
you want us
first,
to
so
come
we don't
up-
workshop
So-
for
so
3 hours?
Just a policy?
Yeah, you and
Okay.
Melissa come back to us with a policy, so we're not.
Melissa
Okay.
already put
You know
one
what I
in the packet on
So
last Friday.
you didn't see it, but I put it in the Friday, my report to counselors so that they could see like an example that, and I kind of worked on to say just a shot in the dark, because we're getting people who are concerned about that because we don't have a written policy. So it's kind of hard to do something without a written policy. So we can talk about that, run it by, and then if the council says they would like to have more information on it, we'll go forward with that and bring it back to them.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I would throw it in out there that that these users should pay for any meter reading or verification, or the user needs to pay That's the only way we're gonna dig ourselves out of this situation we're in, financially speaking. So if we have to hire somebody that goes around and checks these things,
Well, they self-report right now. So the,
right, which is cute, which is
Well,
really cute. I would love to self-report all my bills.
Don't they take a?
but we don't own them.
We don't even own them.
Nope.
We don't even know how accurate they are. We don't know what they are.
We sell them, we make them by our meters.
Right, we're out of
But we-
them, though.
But we can't report because they're not ours. We
That
don't
might be
own
a
'em.
good thing to have in the policy.
But
You
that-
gotta buy one of
So
our
there's more there than I
Yes.
even
It is,
thought.
that is
Okay,
true.
very good.
It's always that way.
That's,
So I think if they take a photograph of their reading
It's what's
every month
happened.
would be helpful, right?
every month at a minimum.
Yeah.
Is we're,
That's what I'm saying. That's some,
Yeah.
because some
Yeah.
people have reported a year later.
yep,
Yeah.
And that goes down as loss.
yes.
Right.
And so it
It
should
doesn't get
be
calculated.
reported within the 30 days or 60.
Well, wait a second.
See,
No.
these are- wait,
Technically, the
these
first
are-
meter catches it
Right, right.
if
So-
they're put in right.
So this is why we want to have a discussion and
right.
we'll come up with a thing and we'll bring it and then we can talk about it. You almost had it. No. We're going to be here tomorrow. No.
We gotta make it.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, continuing action items. We got the possible enforcement workshop, STR ordinances. We got 1,000 budget meetings, so we're probably not gonna be doing too much new stuff until July at best. Citizen considerations. Do we have any citizen considerations? Anybody online? Counselor considerations?
I just wanted to mention that the bulletin board should be here next week, and Susan and I will probably put it up here soon, so we'll have that to be working with.
Nice.
That was the tier.
I have a few things, but we're just not going to discuss either of those things in 9? You're just going to skip them for now until
The
July?
continuing action items?
Yeah, just skip them until June.
We
or whatever.
could, but I mean, yeah, we don't, we have,
Okay.
we have 6 meetings already in the next
Okay.
month and a half.
Yeah, no,
so
I
was
thought we had to
suggesting that
I
we-
thought
like,
there was
'cause
a
we were gonna
topic
wait till July
on-
last month on the
Yeah,
continuing.
I thought there was an
action items.
STR ordinance topic.
Well, let's,
Okay,
We're going to talk more about that tomorrow.
okay. Sounds
Possible ordinance things and also the STR ordinance. I'm going to just take, with that one, we do have one change. It's basically at minimum one sentence that needs to be changed in that. And so we don't want to open up the whole thing. We just want to change one sentence about having to do with inspections that, because right now it says that we must do inspections and we would like to say that
So
we may do inspections.
So are we going to try to do that at the budget meeting?
No,
Make that change?
I think
so that
we'll
was
try to
something,
run it.
again, that we talked about, that we wanted to be sure that the user paid for. And if we needed to hire someone to run around and do inspections, then those users would pay for it. And it's just something that we have to kind of wrap our heads around here. The end user has to pay for stuff.
Correct.
Well, we are, but we have another idea.
Oh, something new?
I think that she might want to present at, but
I guess I'm just trying to ask for the point of order. Will we be changing an ordinance during a budget meeting as opposed to here
Oh,
it is
no,
on an
no, we
action
won't be
item?
changing it during the budget meeting.
Okay,
You'll be considering something, but.
okay. It will come back.
And then
Well, it
maybe
would-
right before the
if
second meeting, we'll have to open up a regular meeting for a while or whatever to do the.
Well, she has a pretty valid point that that's going to be something unfunded, an unfunded requirement. If council decides that it should go on as written, must or whatever, rather than shall, then, or may is what it would be, right? May.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's just another one of those big dollar thing. It might not be big dollar in any other year, but this year that would be a considerable $15,000, $20,000 to have that.
Right now, it's set up where it's the first year is $480 and the second year is $300.
So the problem
So
is,
they would, the
yeah.
first year would pay, that difference would pay for the inspector.
So the problem with it now is, and the reason why we're bringing it to you at budget session is we made the ordinance a year ago. Guess how many pennies we've collected so
Oh.
far? We're trying to get it going on July 1 when our new fiscal year starts. So
Copy.
we've got something for the budget committee to consider that may come to us in the June meeting so they can start July 1. So it'll make more sense when we get into the.
Very good. Gotcha.
And it might even make more sense when we get into the discussion as to why.
But we don't know what our cost is gonna be. It's okay. It sounds like we're moving forward on it.
Well, and so I can give you one good reason. We don't have the staff to do it. We can hire it out, or we can go another route. So.
Can we raise the fee?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm.
I think
Just
we
the
should.
state's a minimum.
Yeah, that's a minimum.
That's this. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. If you have to hire somebody, because we have how many of these things do we have?
23.
40
That's
that
just
were
in
in
the,
the.
that's
No,
resident.
we have
Yeah.
20. There's
Oh.
23 or 20, like 23 in city limits. There's a bunch that aren't in city limits, but
That's in residential, Perry. you
All of
mean.
them have to be
Oh.
licensed.
Right. So is it more like 80 or something like that? I forget what.
60,
No, 43. There's 20.
Oh, wait a second. We're
28
saying, I'm hearing different
R1,
things.
R2.
Well, it's 27 is the cap in residential, right? So
Okay.
however many is.
27 plus. Okay.
Plus the amount in commercial and mixed use, and I think it's somewhere in the 50 to 60 zone. I don't remember exactly because there was also hotels and motels in the last list I looked at.
Oh.
And there could be more, and we'll find out more
If
going
we-
on. There's
I think hotels and motels.
there's an outfit called
They're gonna
Granicus
ask.
that would keep track of it all.
Oh, yeah, right.
They're gonna say that this is unfair. A hotel and a motel owner is gonna say, why, or the short SDR guy is gonna say, how come he isn't getting inspected when I gotta get inspected?
Yes,
And
he has to.
that number is one, if you put the motels, add the motels, now you're looking at one per week through the year.
But hotels have their own set of rules for like water.
But who's the enforcement agency? Who's
I
the,
think the OHA.
county.
The health
Are they?
authority, the health.
I thought it was the county health and we don't even have that.
No, it's not county, it's state.
Is it? Okay.
State health department twice a year.
And they don't.
Restaurants and,
Correct.
and motels, hotels, RV parks.
But do they?
Of course they
They
do.
do, because for a long
I
time,
pay-
they weren't doing it.
I pay a fee and meet with a guy twice a year.
They weren't doing it right.
Or they weren't, that
For
was
a while.
between the county and the state transition. But now
Right.
the state has taken it
Oh,
over.
okay.
And Mr. Kent Downs is,
And that's for all counties, Curry County.
no, we're talking, I don't know about any other.
Yeah, yeah, okay. all right.
I know for restaurants too, they've done like remote Zoom. Like,
Have
so,
they?
yeah. So,
Yeah, no, they have not.
Kent Downs doesn't come to the restaurant?
I haven't seen him yet. He's different. I don't know if he does the water side of it, but does he do the?
He did the health inspections this last year, yes.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
So anyway,
Okay, so can I just have a few considerations? So may I just do those? One is, so I would like to write a thank you note to the Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation for a few things that they've helped us with over the past year that we really never read a thank you note for. They helped us with the appraisal to buy that land. And so this would be appropriate to be a great opportunity to say, hey, we pulled it off with that help. And also they paid for the grant writer that got the grant for this planning grant to do the planning for the culvert removal that we're about to get. So that's why I'm just bringing it up now because we haven't officially gotten it yet. But it seems like that would be a good thing to do just to thank them because
We've slipped away from them since.
yeah, by consensus.
can we just, can I draft that or draft it with Melissa and have Pat or Melissa sign it? Is that okay with you guys?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Secondly, I just want to, of course, really appreciate Melissa. I want to appreciate your leadership at this time and really appreciate all that you're doing to get things back on track. And then finally, as we got this email at the very last minute today from the governor's office asking for us to appoint somebody from Port Orford to the BOEM task force.
I would love that position.
And so
BOEM.
the Wind
Bureau
Energy
of-
Task
Bureau
Force
of
to
Off-
represent our city on the Bureau of Energy Task Force.
Hmm.
I was thinking that either Brett or I would be good people to do it. I don't know if the port has a position,
That's what I was thinking.
that
is
then we could,
contact them, you both.
then we could
Both do it.
Oh,
both
yeah,
do it.
well, I don't really see
But-
why we've successfully excluded our area from
Well, you have
consideration.
temporarily, and I was explaining
It's been
to
taken off the map.
for this round. But what I was telling Pat is I just saw the map today that shows, that our area could be a place where power could come ashore. That's depicted on a map. It could be just a schematic map. But anyway, there's a reason for there to be representation. So
Yeah.
This box checking, that's the reason. But yeah, no, I would love to serve if I can on that one.
you could do it, and I could be the backup if you would like to do it that way.
If the port has, I would imagine, have been contacted?
Say no, they haven't contacted.
Well, we've had
I got the email too, so
great success working with Boeing. The port has, and I'm surprised that they're coming back around.
we just got it this afternoon,
Got
so
it.
maybe I haven't. Maybe
There's
in
a lot of
my email.
there's not much support for the project coastwide. I think that they want to see
728, man.
because the port supported it
Got that hammer.
Yeah, no, I'm just waiting on.
elsewhere. Supported the goals and
I
objectives.
do not like people telling me what to do. I'm gonna drag my feet.
I don't know. Our city has not taken a position yet. We were told not to take a position, if you recall.
Well,
A lot of other cities have.
Yeah, I'm
You're gonna hit the
I'm
table
thankful that the
hard,
port
aren't you?
quickly. But yeah, okay. Would love to serve in any capacity on that. Thank you.
And so we got the first, the second, and hopefully I can contact them tomorrow. I have an email and my port manager email that's asking for representation from the port too. So.
Yeah, fabulous. Then
And then if that was the case, you'd both be number one.
And then we could, if we needed to tag team it, we could, but we could,
I think that
it's better to have two of
we
us.
need to find out what they want, and then we need to find out what the city's policy is. What is the city's policy? I mean, we can't just,
Well, I think for now, there's a meeting next week. And so I think for now that the task force has really only met like once a year. And pretty much it's just, so far, it seems that the task force is a place where BOEM comes and tells the plan and people can ask questions. And so I would propose that whoever goes just can attend and listen and then see if there's any relevant questions to ask. At this point, as far as I can remember, the city's position, we have not taken a position. We were kind of encouraged to not yet take a position. And so we have not done that yet. And there's not really, we don't have a pressing reason at this point. A lot of other cities have.
I don't know any that haven't. The tribes have taken a position.
Against.
Everybody the Port of Port Orford was 2 years ahead of anybody on the West Coast. And we're proud of what we did. It was a big, big thing. But we also supported it elsewhere. We did. It was not in my backyard thing, but it was because of the ecological importance of our area. And it was easily defendable. And we've had our own stewardship areas, which the city has supported.
Yes.
So it's very easy to say that, the stewardship area is,
We support, yeah. That.
and we have supported that stewardship area. This would all but wreck that,
Yeah.
But landing power,
I think there'd be questions. You'd have to ask.
there's money there.
You'd have to ask where it's going. You'd have to ask what's going to happen. You'd have to see.
There's excise money there, but it also, we're not quite sure about migratory, the effect on migratory marine mammals, et cetera. So anyway, yep. I'm down.
The current thing that they're talking about right at this moment is they're going to be doing leasing in the fall. And what they're talking about right now is just that they're going to talk about what that's going to entail and what the people who get the leases are going to be doing, what kind of testing they can be doing, seismic testing and putting meta buoys out and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's sort of where we're at now.
And what's weird about it is then these people lease it and then it goes to the EPA, and they started looking at the Marine Mammal Protection Act and Endangered Species Act, and
Very.
they already own it. They already own the lease, but and they don't even know if they're allowed to use it. It's screwy. You know, it's
Bass backwards, yeah.
federal. Anyway, yep. Did we go pass over 7th?
We did.
Yep. Any
We did.
other counselor concerns?
Concerned with the length of this meeting.
Okay, this will be a fun one for you guys that are wanting to leave. I need to entertain a motion to open an executive session under 279055 to discuss
So moved.
Contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Well, there won't be much other than a motion on the contract at the end of this meeting. So
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Jen, you stayed longer than the ODOT presentation.
I know.
I didn't have to switch you around anyway, so it didn't matter. Good. Have a good night.
Yeah. Addictive. City council meetings.
No. I kept Perry and now I'm going to stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
7:55.
So then I move to go back into regular session.
Second.
Consent, Ann,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Greg. Okay, we are now back in regular session.
I move to accept the contract pending administrative review.
Local government.
For the local government law group.
With the local government law group. Does that cover it?
Mhm.
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion?
Doesn't help.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Counselor Rask,
Yes.
Counselor Tidy,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Webb,
Webb, yes.
Counselor Belisis,
Yes.
Hogg,
Hog, yes.
no, I can't.
Tim, yes.
You know what? It was losing.
I should throw it back at
You were losing steam until then.
The meeting.
That was going to be the last time you ever said it.
I should throw that back at you, right? You're going to probably have to amend